The Tax Talk is what you're watching. My name is Oyinlola Sale. On this show, we educate taxpayers and residents of Lagos State on tax administration. What is your responsibility? What are the roles and the responsibilities of the statutory body? All that coming up.
This is Business News. A group, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, has called on President Bola Tinubu to impose a consumption tax on tobacco to address public health issues in Nigeria. Briefing newsmen in Kano at the end of a one-day media roundtable on taxation and tobacco, the executive director of the Advocacy Center at Walu Musa, also known as Rafsanjani, urged the president to, as a matter of urgency, put the machinery in motion towards the implementation of effective tobacco tax regimes in Nigeria. Rafsanjani, who was represented by the Advocacy Center Senior Program Officer Solomon Adoga, explained that the World Bank Development Update to Nigeria has said that the country could generate more than 600 billion naira annually by increasing excess duties on tobacco and alcohol. The Nigeria Customs Service and its counterparts in West Africa have agreed to address the challenge of multiple taxes on transit cargoes in the sub-region. The Acting Controller General of NCS, Adewale Adeni, disclosed this during a working visit to Cotonou, Benin Republic. Adeni also said that they agreed to harmonize the import prohibition policy to ensure that whatever was banned in Nigeria would also be banned in Benin and other West African countries. Addressing journalists after the visit, he called for rapid integration of Nigeria into the interconnected system for the management of goods in transit. Pan-African credit rating agency and research firm Agusto & Co. says foreign exchange remittance flows into Nigeria will rise to about $26 billion by 2025 and will be supported by improved economic conditions in advanced economies. Given Nigeria's high poverty rate, which increases reliance on foreign aid, Agusto & Co. also anticipate the need to finance the basic requirement of dependents to remain the most important element driving remittances in the near to medium term. Nigeria was the second highest recipient of diaspora remittance into Africa in 2021 with $20.1 billion, trailing behind is Egypt with $28.3 billion. And that's it on Business News.
Welcome back. Let's get into the meat of today's edition. It's not an understatement to say that the revenue generated internally is a major source of funding for the projects the state government has embarked on or intends to embark on. It therefore goes without saying that the more the revenue generated, the more the funds readily available for projects. So now certain questions immediately come to mind. Mr. Jimi Aina, who is the director of the New Growth Area at the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, is our guest today. Now, we're going to be discussing on the challenges of widening the tax net in Lagos State. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
Wow, that's great to hear that. Now, looking at the New Growth Area, what is the primary focus of that directorate at the LIRS?
Oh, thank you very much. As the name suggests, New Growth Areas was a directorate that was carved out to give specialized attention to certain revenue heads within the agency. So we looked at the way we were administering taxes on high net worth individuals, and we thought that it could be better. And so that unit was carved out. We looked at consumption taxes because I always say that the hospitality industry is Lagos State's oil. So we looked at how we could tap into the possible revenue generation points from there, and consumption tax was developed. And of course, some aspects of the withholding taxes are being administered by the New Growth Areas Directorate. Specific ones like dividend, directors' fees, and others, royalty. We'll get into that much later. But those particular revenue heads required specialized attention, and that's what the New Growth Areas team was carved out for. We're about 300 strong, and we are very dedicated towards, I'm very passionate about Lagos.
That's wonderful. And how does it contribute to the overall tax administration?
Year on year, if I do say so myself, we have continued to improve significantly. The contribution of the New Growth Areas Directorate over the last 5 years has increased almost 200%. So obviously that can't be underestimated.
And how would you rate the compliance level in Lagos State?
Well, that's a very good question. I think that as management continues to innovate, the compliance rates continue to improve. So I'll give a perfect example. What obtained before for filing of annual returns, for example, was that you had to come to the office and submit manual documents. Now a portal has been developed and everybody can file via the e-tax platform. Think about doing that from the convenience of your home and what that will do for compliance. A lot of people, we've seen very clearly the rate of compliance and its improvement based on the ease. So the easier it is to comply, the higher the compliance. So that's a very very impressive position that we've seen within the state and the agency as a whole.
Let's take a look at consumption tax. Now, can you explain in details about it and who actually pays it?
It's a common misconception. A lot of people think that we are taxing the hotels and the restaurants all over again, but that's not what it is. Consumption tax, it's you and I. When we eat at a restaurant, we have the party at an event center, we go for drinks at the bar. A 5% consumption tax is charged, and that is paid, that's paid with your bill. And then we expect the collecting agents, who are the collecting agents that we've appointed, the restaurants, the bars, the event centers, even the little kiosks in the supermarkets that are selling cooked food. We expect them every month to compile these taxes, remit to us by the 20th of the next month. So that the expectation is that you and I pay it, but they are collecting agents who deduct and remit on our behalf. So it's an indirect tax. Oh,
I see. So is consumption tax different from value-added tax?
Oh, yes, it is. Consumption tax is charged at 5% by the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, while VAT is charged at value-added tax is charged at 7.5% by the FIRS on general goods and services. We only charge consumption taxes on the hospitality industry.
Now, what happens if an individual or a business fails to remit their consumption tax?
So that's a curious position. We do come across a lot of collecting, and the law is very strict on that because it is not your money. You've collected this money for government. You cannot use it to trade or operate. You're supposed to deduct it and remit it and send that in of every month. So if you don't do that, you leave the agency no choice but to come up with an estimated sum. So sometimes we use trend. Sometimes we use your past remittances to issue you a best of judgment assessment. That's we look at what we think you should have paid, and we issue you that bill. And of course, we add an interest rate that is 5% higher than CBN's rate, and also a penalty of 10%. This is, of course, to ensure that you don't sit down on Lagos State government's money. That's the hope. But if, of course, you still fail to, and that falls due after 21 days, and if you fail to remit that payment, we'll be forced no choice but to begin recovery proceedings against you. We're left with no choice rather than to begin recovery proceedings against you. That's we might have to come and lock up your store, even though the law allows us to sell your items, but we don't go that far. We just seal your store. When you make the repayments, we open it back up.
And what about a business that undergoes change of ownership? What would happen in that aspect?
You see, Section 12 of the HRC law is very clear. When you buy an entity or business, you are taking over the assets and liabilities. So the law even stipulates that you should, when you are making that purchase, you should deduct whatever taxes are due, whatever sum is due to the agency, and remit that and pay the balance to the person you're buying it from. Otherwise, you'll be held accountable. So it's very important when you're buying such a business to do your due diligence, confirm what taxes are being owed, or confirm all liabilities, ensure that either they pay it or you deduct the sums, pay on their behalf, and then have a clean bill of health to start your new business.
Now, what about hotel occupancy? What is the process of registration?
Well, that's very simple. You just head into any of our tax offices. We have about 10 regional offices. Of course, we can share that with you after. And the head office just provide certain information to us. You fill the forms. You provide your evidence of tax payments for the directors. Provide your CAC documents, and immediately be registered.
Well, I'm afraid we just need to stop right now, Mr. Jimi Aina. I know you have so much to say, and I'm sure our viewers at home want to hear more, but at this point, we need to go on a short break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Corporate Talk will continue in a bit.
Hey, Gloria, come. Yes. Guess what?
What's up?
Oh, yes. I just got my offer letter from Mnet for the movie I sold to them.
Wow.
Yes, wow.
That's great news.
I know.
So how much are they offering?
They are offering 2 million naira with 12 months paid TV exclusive.
Wow, that's fair.
But wait. When you sold your movie to them, did they take tax from you?
Listen, every filmmaker who has sold content to Africa Magic already knows this. Mnet is a corporation, so deducting and collecting tax is a requirement for them by the government.
But the thing is, if they take tax from the 2 million naira they are offering, how would I be able to get my capital back?
Dude, don't be greedy.
I'm not.
We are still discussing the challenges Lagos State faces in widening the tax net, and I still have here with me Mr. Jimi Aina, the Director of New Growth Area at the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service. Now, I mean, it's been quite interesting so far discussing about consumption tax and all of that. But what happens if a business fails to file their tax returns on time? Let's look at the deadlines.
Okay, so the expectation is that you make your payment by the 20th of the next month, and of course you render a return via the using the HCL2 form. You do that online on the e-tax platform. It's just there for you to download or populate and upload immediately, or just filled on the form on the portal itself. The penalties are clear. If we feel like you have not declared adequately, we'll charge you the difference based on, of course, what I mentioned earlier, the industry average, expectations based on our intelligence activities, because we don't just sit down and throw bills. We do our due diligence on the kind of activities that go on there. One thing that we would say is that most Lagosians are social, and that is a taxman is also social. I would say. So we also go to restaurants and bars and also have social lives. So we go out and we see what kind of activity goes on in your establishments, and we compare that vis-a-vis your remittances sometimes, and then so it's very difficult to say hide.
All right, let's take a look at high net worth individuals. What is the process of assessing their tax?
So, for Lagos, we define, or the LIRS, we define our high net worth individuals as anybody who earns 25 million naira per annum and above. So that is how we identify our high net worth individuals. So the expectation is that every by March 31st, the deadline, between January and March 31st, you declare your income for the previous year. We're talking about from all sources. So your rental income, your director's fees, what you earn from interest and dividends, and of course your salary. And you just declare that to an agency, and then we will now assess you based on those parameters. More often than not, we find that people tend to declare only the income that is obvious. That's their payee income, their pay as you earn from their salaries. But people often earn dividends. And of course, dividends have been deducted, withholding taxes have been deducted already. So it's not like there's any, additional taxes to be charged. But it's just very important that we can also know for planning how much income Lagosians really truly earn. So when we're forced to do our research and we find that you have other entities where you're a director of, or we find that the banks have made returns and you've earned interest, so we assess you based on things like that. And of course, when you make your payments, if you have no objection, and if you do, you prove to us why the disparity between our position and yours isn't correct. Do you understand? So it's a very, I wouldn't call it a simple process if you do it right.
Let's go back to the high-profile taxpayers. We're hitting hard on this one. Now, how do you handle non-compliance from their side? So
that's a very good question, because it's like I highlighted earlier, it's kind of complex, but it's also not as complex as it may appear, because the reality is that not paying your taxes is a criminal offense. And one thing that our high net worth individuals like is their reputation. So once we assess you, we find that you are not complying with taxes or you are not paying adequately, we give you the best of judgment assessment, looking at the basis of what we think you should be paying. We ask you to prove the difference. And if you can't, because you can't hide your lifestyle, you can't hide your cars, you can't hide your wristwatches, you can't hide your private jets. It's very difficult to hide all those things. We see them in the papers. We see you on the roads. Like I said, we also have social lives, so we see you everywhere. You cannot come and tell us that you're earning 5 million naira per annum when we can see that the school that your children go to, school fees is 10 million naira per annum. So there are different parameters that we look at when we're assessing these taxpayers. And then, of course, if we get to a point where we cannot agree, we start enforcement proceedings against you. So we take you to court. But that's always the last resort. We try to reason with taxpayers. Moral suasion is a major part of our processes. Yeah, we like to reduce the back and forth, the embarrassment of litigation, and most of them tend to, agree or comply after we have these conversations.
Now, it has become apparent that a lot of entertainers have spread their tentacles and they have multiple streams of income. Now, how do you give them the appropriate attention based on that?
Also, yeah, that's also a very, very important question. We can't take for granted the role of entertainment in the Nigerian scene. The contributions are now even financial. Right now, as we speak, my team are researching the financial contributions of the industry that can be measured. We're currently researching it because we're trying to look at the contribution vis-a-vis the tax contributions as well. So one of the things that we find is that we have to continue educating and enlightening them on the expectations and their obligations in terms of taxation. And then also, of course, asking them, we advise them often, we sit down with their associations. We're even planning a summit soon, just a financial planning summit, because of how embarrassing it is, I don't want to use the word embarrassing, how wasteful some of these entertainers are. So you find that some of them are very hot this year, and by the time it's time for them to pay their taxes next year, they are flat broke, because it was just one hit song or two hit songs, and they spent the money on the things that they've always craved, big houses and vehicles, and then next year the industries, they're not as hot, and so they don't have that much money. So yeah, because you pay your tax the next year, so it's on a preceding year basis. So we can't exactly touch or ask them to, for the income of that year. It has to be the following year. Of course, when it gets to the point where we've gone past that route, we've assessed you can't make the payments, and then we now have to go through the long route of litigation and all that stuff. But the reality is, we continue to look at them as partners. We speak with the associations, we have relationships with some of the thought leaders in the industries, and we're hopeful that will continue to improve the administration of taxes on those entertainers.
I must say, at this point, we need to wrap up on this discussion. It's been really interesting, Mr. Jimi Aina. Thank you so much for coming on Corporate Talk on the Tax Talk today.
I'm very happy to be here. I hope you have me again, because I still have.
Oh, definitely, definitely. You have so much to say.
Yes. Thank you.
Well, we have come to the end of this discussion with Mr. Jimi Aina, who is the director of the New Growth Area at the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service. Well, don't go anywhere. The Tax Talk continues.
Hey, Gloria, come. Yes. Guess what?
What's up?
Oh, yes. I just got my offer letter from Mnet for the movie I sold to them.
Wow.
Yes, wow.
That's great news.
I know.
So how much are they offering?
They are offering 2 million naira with 12 months paid TV exclusive.
Wow, that's fair.
But wait. When you sold your movie to them, did they take tax from you?
Listen, every filmmaker who has sold content to Africa Magic already knows this. Mnet is a corporation, so deducting and collecting tax is a requirement for them by the government.
But the thing is, if they take tax from the 2 million naira they are offering, how would I be able to get my capital back?
Dude, don't be greedy.
I'm not.
Welcome back to the Tax Talk. Up next on the show is Tax Did It. LIRS brings you into the know of some of the projects that the taxpayers' money has been directed at. Please stay with us.
today at LIRS to celebrate the delivery of a modern medical infrastructure that will further strengthen the capacity of our healthcare system to meet the needs of our people. With this facility and several others that have been put in place in other parts of our country, we are on a path to improving our nation's human capital development index and achieving one of the set targets under the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals.
I'm aware that not only those who are living in Lagos are coming to receive treatment in LIRS. In fact, not only in the Southwest, we have people coming from other parts of the country to receive treatment. And that's the reason why we need to do this and many more for LIRS.
It's a container building. This is done with intermodal containers, which, I mean, you know that in these modern days of sustainability, green initiative, it's important for us to start thinking of how to make use of reused materials that have been used before. Containers are things that we go around, we see at the ports, but now they are being reused. These are the initiative of the Green Building Council that we are all trying to forge towards.
You can see there's so much delight in the here today. And I'm certainly delighted to be here with you at the commissioning of this first in class, first in the country, first in the state, a modular, interactive classroom block at the Great Wetland Junior International School. Yet another milestone intervention in our ongoing transformation of the educational sector in Lagos State.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for staying tuned on the Tax Talk. Today's trivia question is such an easy one. You'll probably be wishing that we caught you on the streets. Tax your brain coming right up.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Tax Your Brain on the Tax Talk. My name is Omar Folari. I'll be going on the street of Lagos to ask people trivia questions. Stick around and let's see what lucky winners will be.
Stadium that is located in Surulere. I think there is what do you call it? Sorry, I can't even remember the area. Yeah.
It's around Lagos State, yeah, close to Ojolegba.
Where is the Balogun Stadium?
In Lagos. That is along the general, along National Stadium.
Asurere.
It's at Surulere.
Teslim Balogun. That is at Onikon, Lagos. Asurere.
And it's a wrap on Tax Your Brain today. Thank you for sticking with us. The Tax Talk continues.
I told you today's Tax Your Brain was an easy one, didn't I? Sometimes though, you never know what you'll get once you hit the streets. We are on social media with the handles listed on your screen. Do give us a follow. I'm afraid that's all on today's edition of the show. Be sure to join us again next time. My name is Oinlala Sally. Bye for now.